buckle up and hang on for this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast. The Houndsman XP crew got together in a little discussion about things that houndsmen talk about. So we talk about everything from, breeding hounds, genetics, talk about nature versus nurture. We're talking about crossovers into other livestock breeding. And Shorty gets into cloning some of the best bucking bulls in the world. And then we bring that back around to how that affects our breeding programs with our hounds and why hounds don't turn out. I mean, this is just a great conversation. We talk a little bit about Lauren's most recent adventure, and she's not afraid to hook up that camper and load those hounds and go get after it. And guys, I just want to thank every one of you for your engagement the last couple of weeks. We've been getting messages and emails and all kinds of interaction from you. So we appreciate it. Really, we do. Guys, we're going to jump right into this. I really appreciate you tuning in and spending your time with us. That Old South dog box, man, it's well made, but we've got such a hot strike here. A hard strike, it's a box shaker, as my buddy Larry Anderson would say. But man, that thing, I'm afraid it's going to blow up if we don't get the doors open on the Old South dog box. So it is time to dump the box. So here we are. We're doing a point blank with we got almost the whole crew except for Mr. Coondog. What do you want? What did Josh want to be introduced as from now on?
Well, we can't say that word, but
oh yeah, something about big show something. But Josh Michaelis is the only one that's missing.
Michaelis.
Yes, we have Shorty. You've heard Lauren already. And, of course, Seth coming at us live from New Mexico, and this is a point blank. So how's it going, guys?
We'll see how point blank it gets. It might just be, whatever's going on in the backfield. What was being spread on my yard today? Manure.
The pre-show was terrible.
Yeah, the pre-show was pretty good, and it's too bad we couldn't air that part. So,
or I guess we would call it the green room.
That was definitely, yeah.
The pre-party. Yeah. The pre-party.
Like, we'll just put it this way. Like, we know how to have fun and talk about stuff that really makes us laugh. Yeah, for sure. Well, there's a lot of cool stuff going on at Houndsman XP. We just launched the truth about coon hunting, and that's getting some rave reviews. And
rightfully so.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good addition on Thursdays for Houndsman XP. And, what do you guys think about that?
I liked it. Yeah, I like listening to it. I mean, like he said, like we kind of all get our start in the same way. I mean, I wasn't packed around in my grandpa's backpack or on his shoulders or anything like that. But we kind of just have a similar story and just like the way we get into it and how it hooks us by the lip and doesn't release us at all. Hearing people's stories and what success means and how you get successful and then kind of dispelling those myths.
Yeah. Shorty, do you have something?
Good stuff.
Yeah, I it's interesting to me because I've never in my life been to any kind of competition with a hound. Not a field trial, coon hunt, coyote hunt, nothing. So that part of it's intriguing to me, and tying the things together that what we look for in Western big game hounds and what they look for in coon hounds. And I think we're all, as people, we're all like-minded, like lifestyle people. So it's an easy connection. And I've enjoyed it so far. I thought it was great. I'm interested to see where it goes and looking forward to it.
Yeah, Seth, what do you think?
I figure if I just listen long enough, I can get my dumb dogs to tree something.
I think we talked a little bit about instinct there.
They just won't do it, and it's bothering me. I've tried the whole thing. I'm listening. I'm gonna listen for good training tips. See, they treed a lizard the other day, but they just walked off. So
did they tree a lizard or did they bush a lizard?
They bushed a lizard. Yeah. There's no trees. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited. I think it's kind of content that I think the majority of our listeners can find appealing in so many ways, like Shorty was saying. I mean, even a guy like me who I've never treated an animal before, the concepts and the ideas of what we're breeding for in these ultra high-end competition animals are something that translates to all of us. Not to mention, like, I'm with Shorty. I've only been to 1-2 competitions, and I mean, I just think it's a whole nother world that, frankly, as an outsider, I just enjoy listening to that whole. It's amazing to me.
You just knocked down a good episode with John Rutter with the New Mexico Houndsman Association.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be hunting with him next week, so stay tuned for some more of that.
What are you guys going to be hunting?
Raccoons. He treed 27 last night. So
last night?
Yeah. And
are you sure he's hunting in New Mexico and not like Michigan or?
So Lauren, it's funny because like when you came over, I'd really just kind of peeked through that door to try to get into that world, and now I kind of hit it full bore. And when you return, it's gonna be a whole different game. And when you see those bosque forests, you're gonna be like blown away. They are insane.
And you guys will have your tires slashed for going up there and poaching John Rutter's hunting area, Lauren.
I will be with him because I can't navigate that place without him. It is insane in there. I'm pretty good navigator, and I'm absolutely lost in there. You go in there, and it is just like, oh my gosh, it is so thick. And I was so turned around in there, and I was pretty embarrassed about that, honestly. But yeah, he sent a picture. He had 5 in one tree, so he's going hard.
Yeah,
which
is cool.
And honestly, like when I was there, it was too cold for you to camp, even if we did drive the 3 hours there, so it just would have been kind of logistically difficult.
I think it's funny that you think it's too cold to camp and you live in the Midwest. Like
in Wisconsin.
It was like 35 at night.
Like me being in my camper, I would have been fine. But like, you cannot sleep in my camper with me. That thing's too small.
Dude, I can't do camp for a living. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, Ridge and Piper and Timber and River are not going to let. They don't have enough room for you in there, Seth.
Oh,
no.
He would.
Lauren, I can tell you, you just got to learn. Don't worry about the biologists.
Yeah.
They will be fine.
Oh man, knowing Seth, he'll be fine. He's just a little skinny. You need to put a little fat on him.
It's true. That's
like he said, it's what they do.
I've got 6 dogs at my house now. It used to be 5. So like I told my coworker,
did you get rid of that damn red dog?
Oh, I still got that damn red dog. He's going home in October, hopefully. But
is that his name?
I think so. I think that's that dog's name.
Damn.
His name is Boost, like Boost.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He's 11, and he tries his little heart out, and it's fine. But I just got a dog delivered yesterday, so I just added another female blue tick. She's fake.
You're gonna have to get a bigger trailer.
Yeah, how are you gonna get all those dogs at my property, man? Like,
Tie-outs.
My neighbors are gonna hate you over there. Yeah, so I was hanging out with my buddy, and we were talking about this. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to start with Shorty. Well, I guess Shorty would be the only one who can answer this, and then Chris maybe later. But we were talking about breeding one bitch to 2 different males. You ever done that, Shorty?
Accidentally.
Yes. Like for one breeding, not like each different cycles.
So
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So like we were thinking about having like a purebred Saluki, and you put a purebred Saluki over her and also Pronto. So he's like 80% Greyhound. So you would take, because we want some of both, right? And we're just spitballing. This is not something I'm actually going to do probably, but like, have you ever done that? And did it work out?
So you're not going to get a mix. Like you're going to get part of the litter out of these dogs, because and for the listeners' sake, the way it was explained to me by my vet, who's expert at AI in dogs, is it comes in waves. So you have one wave coming of eggs that are in heat. You have another wave of eggs that are going out of heat, and then another that are coming in, and it goes like that for 7 days. And so you can have up to 3 fathers in one litter. They're not going to be a mix, but yeah, I actually have on accident had that happen, and be honest with you, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you could do it. It'd be interesting to see, but usually when I go to breed one, I already know that I want to breed this gyp to this male, and I know the reasons why and whatever. So I don't. And the other thing is, you don't know how many is going to be out of this male, how many are going to be out of that male, and then the only way to tell is to go and DNA the puppies to find out what the dad is. So that's another added expense, but yeah, it could be done. I've never done it intentionally.
I wonder. Yeah, it was just something we're spitballing, and I was like,
I don't think it's a bad idea, Seth, because I know kind of what you're thinking of, originally what you were thinking of going with your breeding program, and now what you've thought in the last 6-8 months, and you I understand why you're thinking that.
Well, and two, you can, for me, an ideal litter would be because I keep them all. An ideal litter would be 3 or 4. And so if you had 3 or 4 from one male and 3 or 4 from another male, it'd be super cool, because you could see okay, they're both the same age. They've both been raised the same, exactly the same. They've been hunted the same, everything, what excels and what doesn't.
Okay.
And
this gets me totally thinking, because I think 3 days ago or 4 days ago, because I want to breed Piper, I'm getting her hips OFA checked, just because that's something that I'm going to do. Don't hate. And I was like, man, this whole big game blue tick breeding, or she's competition bred, maybe we should try that. What?
I was talking to Chris.
And I'm like, okay, what if I had her bred then by 2 studs and had 1 big game and 1 competition, or just not breed her at all? I don't know.
Just breed her to a high performance, game crazy, high drive type dog, and you can have both.
Yeah,
you really can, out of the same sire. And that's kind of where this whole truth thing is going. And we got way sidetracked. But man, I'll tell you what, it doesn't. I believe, and I've messed
drive.
It's all about drive. It's all about prey drive, except if you're chasing a jackrabbit, and then you need speed. But you got to have drive and speed, and there's a lot of other things you need too. But
very simple in general.
yeah. But Shorty, you made a really good. You made a good point. And I've said this for a long time, that if somebody's going to really have a breeding program, you need to keep them all. Yep. And you need to look at how all of them are turning out, and then call accordingly, or cross back in. A breeder is thinking three crosses ahead. You don't think about today. You think about, okay, I'm going to make this cross, but what am I going to do with those pups? And then what am I going to do with those offspring, and what am I taking them back to?
100%. Yeah. 100%. And if you, to me, if you spread these dogs out, unless you have a good network, and I think that's why I've got a good partner in California. He hunts the same way as I do. He hunts as hard as I do. He culls as hard as I do, and we'll trade some puppies. And he's got some blood I want. I got some blood he wants. So it's been a good relationship. But other than that, I keep them all because I want to be able to compare them to their litter mates. And if I spread them out, this guy hunts 1 day a week. This guy hunts 3 days a week. I'm hunting 5 or 6 days a week. That it's not a fair comparison across the board. And so if I can compare them all the same and they're all hunted really hard, they're raised the same, then I can cull accordingly and know where the litter is by what the top dogs of that litter are doing. And that's why I think it's so important to keep them on. And it's not a greed thing. It's just I want to know.
Okay, so I got a question for you. So when you get to that point where, all of them need to be hunted, how do you choose which ones you take?
I take every one.
But if you've
That's why I hunt a lot of dogs.
Yeah, but you don't haul 20.
Oh, I do sometimes. Yeah. When I have that many pups that need to be hunted, they go on the truck. I will start so usually I'll hunt 14, 15 dogs. And then that's kind of my typical number. And then when I have puppies coming aboard, I'll put dog boxes on top of my dog box, and I'll start with one, and I'll get that dog 2 or 3 days where it knows kind of to stay with the truck, add another, and within 2 weeks I have the whole litter hunting with them, and I hunt them all every day. I feel like they can't learn anything from home, and
exactly
every race
right
they miss is the one that sets them back.
So
you see a lot of that.
Go ahead, Seth.
You see a lot of that in the sighthound community where people get very anal about how many dogs you'll run after a hare. And to me, when you're running pups, I don't really care how many are in the race. It's more about when you get that many dogs in a chase, that high intensity, you're going to get injured animals a little easier. But I'm with Shorty. I mean, I don't have a single problem running a bunch of pups with some adults. Those pups aren't going to do anything in the race for a jackrabbit. They're just going to watch and learn. So I don't got a problem throwing 4 or 5 pups out with 2 or 3 seasoned adults to really learn. I mean, I've never done it, but I don't have a problem at all. I think it's super important. They don't learn anything in the dog box. They don't learn anything in the house. I totally agree.
Have you ever seen the studies on the visual learning in canines? How important visual learning is for them?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So one of the studies, and I know wolves are the devil and everything, but one of the things that the Dr. Laverius Geis talks about the ability of a wolf to learn visually. If a wolf will sit back and watch you manipulate the latch on a gate, they will figure out how to manipulate the latch on the gate, and they will put their pups up on, if you go to the Alaska tundra, the scientists have watched them, the pack put the young up on the ridge while the adult pack hunts the caribou, and they learn that way. And even modern trainers use the gang line when you're training retrievers, pointers, even shoots and dogs and law enforcement canines. It's huge. When we were law enforcement canine trainers, we would stand back with our dogs on leash when we were teaching certain things and let them watch. It's amazing. It's an amazing phenomenon.
I believe it. I'm a visual learner, so I get it.
I had never been with as many dogs out on track and tree as I did when I was out west, and it was just mind-blowing because in Wisconsin you can only have 6 dogs maximum out on bear or wolf. Not sure about coyote. I'll have to look. I know I'm a terrible person. Raccoon, there's no rule, but it's hard if you need to get 4 pups started and you also need 3 good dogs for a race or whatever it is, you can't do it in Wisconsin. That's why going out west was really good.
I got you can train more pups, can't you?
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Has raccoon hunting always been historically done with 1 or 2 dogs? I always see 1 dog. Is that because the competition scene maybe has influenced that a little bit in the modern times, or is it typically just a 1-dog game?
The competition coonhound world has influenced that. But if you go back traditionally, I mean, have you ever heard the Jerry Clower skit about coon hunting? And, it wasn't unusual for us to have 20 dogs under the tree But
jump in amongst them.
That raccoon
One of us has got to get some relief. We're shooting up
you're thinking put a muzzle on her. She's got the stories mixed up. Yeah. No. So Jerry, the old Jerry Clower thing was, it wasn't unusual for us to have 20 dogs under that tree, but we had to give that raccoon a sporting chance. If he wanted to jump out amongst those dogs and whip every one of those dogs, he had that option to do that. So it wasn't always the one dog type thing. When I'm training a hound for a competition, I single out a lot of hounds by themselves. I think it's important for their development so that they understand how to do that and be able to do that all by themselves. And that's what makes it incredibly hard to be a breeder of coon hounds and keep them all, because I can't hunt like that. But
you get to know your dog just so much deeper.
Yep.
Yeah.
For your typical coon hunter, I mean, it's just so hard. If you have, like this last litter I had 7. Can you imagine me keeping 7 puppies and trying to hunt them all and really, truly evaluate each pup and figure out which one's going to be my, next level cooner? It'd be tough.
Wow. Yeah. If you're hunting them one at a time, damn. Yeah.
Yep.
But Seth, we definitely we could have used more dogs in those reeds.
Oh man, we could have just used some of my dogs in those reeds.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
When the coon came out.
If we would have kept your dogs and kept headlights on the road on the side of the ditches, heck, maybe something would have happened.
Dude, we needed Penny, not my greyhounds.
Yeah.
Hey, that said, Chris, thinking about it, yes, I could totally, because the dog that you want to competition coon hunt, he'll stand out amongst them. I think, and that's what I see with like I said, I will hunt 20 dogs when I need to or whatever, but the standouts, it don't matter if you got 3 dogs or 20 dogs, they still stand out. And those are the ones
but you still have to keep them all for a reasonable amount of time then, though.
Sure. But I don't know which one's going to be the best one.
The cool thing, going back to the episode we did with Heath Hyatt and talking about the best hound or the best dogs and the way they breed dogs and not outcross not inbreed or line breed, but they breed the best of the best. I thought about that. Every dog that's in that pedigree was proven out of its litter to be the best out of that litter. Yep. And the rest of them aren't bred. So, there's definitely something to that.
I'm so glad you brought that episode up, because I wanted to get to it and I was looking for a good segue, so thanks. But when I was listening to that episode, I was kind of shocked at how it doesn't seem obvious that it's best to best. I don't know, because to me, as strictly as a biologist, and I came into hound hunting late, and so my breeding philosophy, I've never bred a litter, so I'm learning as much as I'm commenting. But it seems like who I bought my 2 running dogs from, he'll line breed occasionally, but he's almost strictly best to best, and so that's just kind of the first philosophy I grabbed onto. But I mean, Pronto and Calypso, they have almost no line breeding in their pedigree at all, and they're monstrous. I mean, they're killers. So, I mean, to me, I was like, what? I mean, it seems rather obvious that when you line breed for too long, you're going to start getting health issues and problems. But I guess it makes sense because you're keeping it insular. But yeah, I don't know.
On the line breeding, anything gets amplified. So if it's a problem, it gets amplified. If it's a good thing, it gets amplified. So that's a chance you take. The thing is if you get to the point where you figure out, hey, we're having health problems, we're having whatever, you got to cut it and start over. And that's where I think people screw up, is they don't go start over.
And do you think that you wouldn't have to get to that blind? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't think you would get to that start over point if you were out crossing best to best on every generation? Or maybe you'd get to that start over point because maybe your genetic pool is so wide that you're having a hard time getting consistent traits? I don't know.
Here's the confusing thing. I know guys that would never breed tight, always bred best of the best, and I know guys that breed really tight and breed best to best, and both of them are successful.
Yeah. That's the beauty of dogs,
So,
really.
yeah, you tell me.
I think there's a big thing too about being Americans. You know, when you think about the old country of Europe and those places, people came here to escape. You know, they had monarchs and things in Europe, and this is the land of the free, so we get to do what we want. So
freedom of choice.
It really is. I mean, it's one of those deals, and you see this a lot in breeding when people ask questions and people put their opinions in there, and other people, Samaritans, well, you guys will get that, but they will, they'll chime in and say, "Man, it's your dog. You do what you want." When you see people making posts about making a cross on social media, and people will say, "Well, how's that going to better the breed?" And somebody else will chime in and say, "It's your dog. Do what you want. This is America. We're still free." Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to sidetrack on that, but I think it's just a dichotomy of thinking between the European breeders and American breeders.
And there's an old houndsman. I'd love to give him credit, but I can't say his name on here. But anyway, he always says, you got to take a chance to have a chance. And so that's the thing. Like, how's it going to better the breed? Well, it might not, but it might really better the breed. So, like, you can't be afraid to, and that's why I like to hunt a lot of dogs, is because I like to breed a lot of dogs. Like, I can either get to the pinnacle in 30 years, if I ever do, or I can breed a lot of dogs, not more than I can hunt properly, but as many as I can, and I could try to get there in 5 or 6 years. And so, but you got to take those chances to get to the pinnacle. And every world champion I know, and obviously I'm in the rodeo world, I'm sure it's the same in the coon hunting world. Whatever, they did something that nobody else did. That's the key, is doing something that nobody else has done.
And you're talking about breeding bulls, bucking.
I'm talking about breeding anything.
Yeah.
You gotta try something, or can't be afraid to try something. Like, it's, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You're a generation behind, but you can't just go, well, this has always worked, and we've made mediocre dogs, so we're going to stick with this. Hey, try to escalate it. If it doesn't work, hey, you always can go back to that real easily.
I think that's part of the fun of being a houndsman, is like imagining these crosses. Like, exactly. I'll sit down with my friends and just do that all the time. And another thing too, and I'm dead serious, one of my favorite quotes of all of the time I've been immersed in Houndsman XP is, which of these pups is going to be the best? It's the one that's hunted the most.
I
love that quote. I love Mike Colley's quote so much. That is such a good quote. And I say that all the time now. And I do credit you, Mike, if you're listening right now.
He will be.
Yeah.
That's such a great quote. Gosh, that's such a good one. Because it's true. When you look at a litter of runners, especially greyhounds and Salukis, they're all going to be fast. They're all going to be good. It's
I'll tell you I will tell you what I think is more important than whether you're line breed or you make a complete outcross, is being experienced enough to know what a good hound is, and then being able to recognize, because when you're a good enough houndsman and you've got that experience, you recognize greatness, and you can recognize that greatness at a very young age. But at some point you look at that hound and you think, this is what I'm looking for, and I don't care if it's got 20 titles and it's a national champion or whatever, but it's going to be a solid cross. You study the pedigrees, you know that the good hounds are behind that dog, and I'm serious. I mean, you've got to be, I think the biggest downfall, more importantly,
student.
Yeah, you've got to be a student of the great breeders and look and pick their brains. I mean, if you're at a breed days or you're at Autumn Oaks or you're at any hound event, if you're not sitting down with those great breeders and picking their brains and trying to glean the knowledge from them, man, you are just losing so much rather than just thinking, well, I've got a female dog and he's got a male dog and we're gonna make a little puppy family. You know, that's that's a recipe for disaster.
Like the Facebook post, oh yeah, my bitch is in heat. Does anyone have a male dog in Southwest blah 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 state?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. And you can do that. I mean, if you live in a hotbed like I do, but if I don't know it, okay, so by the time my female comes in heat, I should already know what genetics are going to line up. Saying. Yeah, what genetics are going to line up, and who's got those hounds that I'm interested in breeding to. Yep, I should already have all those bases covered. So
yeah,
I agree.
Yep,
I agree. I already got Calypso's boyfriend lined up in 2.5 years. I think.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Let me ask you something, and I'll start with you, Chris. What do you think is like the number one trait that a new houndsman sees in a hound that isn't that good that they think is good? Like, what's a common misconception that a young or new houndsman would say about, I'm going to ask a coon hound because that's your thing, that they're like, man, he's really good, and you would go, that's really not a good thing.
Well,
what'd you think?
I think you have to boil it down to the 7 stages of hunter development to answer that question. And the 7 stages of hunter development, and this is a International Hunter Education Association thing, and forgive me, but I need to lay it out a little bit. But the first stage is a shooting stage. You just like to shoot. You just like to burn up rounds. You just like to feel the recoil of the gun. And then you've got the killing stage. You want to shoot stuff. And then you've got the limiting out stage. And then you've got the trophy stage. Maybe there's only 5. And then you've got ultimately you get to the mentoring stage. So where you want to teach other people. And you've already been through all those other stages. I left out a stage, and that's the method stage. You know, kind of like I hunt with a flintlock, which you and I can relate to, Seth. I can hunt with a longbow, but you get past that and you finally get to that mentoring stage. With houndsmen, you know, I remember when I was a coon hunter, I was just happy to have a dog in the hunt. I didn't care what he did. I didn't care. You know, I didn't have any experience to know what a great hound was. So if I turned my dog loose and he went hunting, that was a good thing. That was exciting. And then if he went hunting and he opened on track, man, that's really cool. Now I'm really getting into it. You know, so it's one of those things that new houndsmen get into, and it's just a natural progression, is they just want to be a part of the hunt. And we need to let them be a part of the hunt, and we need to mentor them into showing them what a great dog is. You know, it goes back to the old adage, if you want a good job from people, then show them what a good job looks like. And I think that is one of the biggest things that hinders newcomers, is they've never had a dog that did anything, and all of a sudden they've got a dog that goes out there. He may be open on a deer. He may scorch a deer out of the country. He may fall off and tree a coon, but he doesn't know what he's doing. He's just got, man, this is what I'm looking for, you know? So that's what I'm thinking. Or maybe the dog babbles, or maybe the dog, you know, maybe dog's slick treeing. I remember the first time I had a dog that treed, and I was just like, I mean, I don't even know if my feet touched the ground when I was headed to the tree. I
remember my first like good tree by yourself.
Yep. So I think you go back to those stages of hunter development, and you can see that direct correlation to what we as houndsmen go through.
It's a great answer.
And I don't know if there's really any answer of saying like, oh, like right now I think this trait is good, but in the long run, like 5 years later, you figure out it's not good. I don't know. Like, oh man, he slammed that tree really fast. Like, yeah, well.
Does he have a coon in it?
Exactly. Like 2 years later, you're like, well, he was too quick to judge. He didn't check it. He didn't go circles around the tree and figure out that the coon left.
And that is why I write in my hound log, because I always wait the final thoughts and ideas, and I always write that at the end of the season, because that has happened to me. Exact same thing. I wrote about the race the day of. I got outrun, and I had all these excuses. What I thought happened.
There you go.
Pronto's out of shape. That rabbit was a badass. This and that, this and that. Well, I find out 3.5 weeks later, Pronto broke 2 toes during that race. And I didn't know until I looked at his feet a week later, and he has toes that are this big around. And so, 4 months later, I write in the final thoughts. I'm like, you know what? I was dumb to be running there. And what happened really was that poor dog was trying to run on 2 broken toes, or, well, a dislocated toe and a broken toe. And so that's why he got outrun. You know what I mean? Like you were being way too hard on him inside. Of course, I was never hard on him in person, but like inside, like emotionally, I'm like, I'm hard on myself. He's out of shape. I'm not roading him enough. I'm not getting him in shape, and things happen. And so I guess where I'm trying to go with that is how, tying into where Lauren was saying that, yeah, your view on things change. What I used to love in a dog, and I've only been doing this for 4 seasons, what I used to love in a greyhound when I first started, because to me it was all about stacking them up. Talk about that hunter development. Luckily, I feel like I flew through a lot of those stages quickly, because I had a lot of mentors that are 60 and older, and they're deep into the mentor stage. So they really taught me how to slow down and just appreciate the hound work, because I just wanted to stack jackrabbits up, baby. You know what I mean? And I was at the cost of my dog's health without even knowing it. And so I've learned so much in such a short amount of time. But anyway, yeah,
what do you
write
think,
in your hound logs.
Yeah, I think really, like, and the Garmin's help us. So, but I remember back in the day when we didn't have them or whatever, like, don't be just so excited about that your dogs are opening. Like, try to figure out what they're doing. Like,
are they really opening on what they're supposed to?
Yeah, or are they actually trying to move the track, or are they like barking on the same track over and over and over and over again? I remember back in the telemetry days, I had a young dog, and I thought, man, this dog is, holy cow. He was a young black and tan dog, and I was hunting coons at the time here in South Texas, and this young dog, he was getting the strikes, he was getting and I had pretty good coon dogs at the time. They weren't competition coon dogs, they were bear dogs, they were good coon dogs. But anyways, until like one day I went in there, and this dog would get the strike, and then he would pick it up, and he was picking up all these loses and just doing some great things. And I slipped in there one day, and they didn't, which here is hard to do. I slipped in there, and I saw him working, and what that dog was doing was these older dog that was with him would go in there and put his nose down and smell the track and go to wiggling his tail, and this young dog would bark. Well, he barked before the old dog. So I thought, man, this dog's cold nose. He's picking up the pickups. All he was doing was just watching that old dog, and he was barking on it. So try to learn what
body
your
language
dog actually doing, and that was a big learning curve for me. I was like, holy cow! I was bragging on this dog, thought he was the coolest thing in the other, and he was a coal.
And that's the thing. Hound hunting, I've been hunting since I was, knee high to a grasshopper, and hound hunting has so much dense knowledge that needs to be learned in really a short amount of time if you want to get as high level as possible. I don't even know how it's possible if you had to start on your own, especially with scent hounds. When I was hunting bears,
it takes a while.
Yeah, man. And when I was hunting bears, I mean, we're driving down the road rigging, and they just blow up, and I'm like, yes, let's go tree a bear, yes. And he just keeps rolling. He's like, nah, it's deer. And I was like, how do you know? Like, how do you know? Because they just blew up. And then I looked down on the tracks. I like 3 seconds down the road, there's elk tracks on the side of the road. And I was like, how do you know? Like a young houndsman, I would have just sent them right then. You know what I mean? Because it's
like, don't check. You're just so excited. Like, let's
yes.
rock!
Well, they were just like, and then he's like, oh yeah, Diaz, he barks all the time on an elk. I don't know why. He just rigs elk. And I was like, and that's the thing, learning your dogs and learning yourself. You know what I mean? You got to check that excitement. When I first started jackrabbit hunting with my dogs, I'd go out with Justin, and he is super level. He's just totally chill. You remember him, Lauren?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so worked up. I'm about to throw up. Like, I'm like fighting back nausea. Because the thing about jackrabbits, they just come out of the grass. It's like gambling at any time.
You're like a 7-year-old at Disneyland or Disney World, and he is like the old grandpa that has been, he's not old at all, but
he's already ridden Space Mountain several times.
Yeah.
Until we see a jackrabbit, and then he turns into a baboon held in by a seatbelt. I'm telling you, he's. But anyway, yeah, and I guess where I'm going with all this is that there is so much to learn in this life, in this lifestyle, in this method of hunting in a partnership with an animal that can't communicate with you in English. So I love that aspect of it. And with the scent hound hunting where it's all auditory, it's really incredible. And
funny
it takes
thing,
a long time.
You were just talking about jackrabbits again, but
that's what I do.
But that's what I start my puppies on.
Really?
We've got jackrabbits all over here, and I leave them loose, and they run jackrabbits all day as puppies, and
that'll get them in shape.
That's what
I guess mine got their start on cottontails here on the farm. I mean, except for Piper, she didn't grow up here. Starting on little vermin. That's good. And Seth, you are darn lucky that greyhounds don't have a tendency to go backwards on a jackrabbit.
Y'all are hunting a bunch of trashy hounds. That's all I got to say. When my dogs come out of the womb, they are straight coon dogs, and they never trash on anything and never making off bark on anything. Now, Mike Colley's plots, those are the trashiest things I ever saw.
I'm pretty sure you've got some of that blood there, Chris.
You better believe it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a trash race with a sight hound. If it moves, they're going for it.
The whole elk thing, got some experience with that while I was in Colorado, and kind of got to learn how my dogs acted or may have acted if they were on a bear track, and then we think they kind of got turned around where maybe there was some hot elk scent or elk had been bedded down or something like that. Definitely had some opportunity to work on, breaking them off, rigging a elk. Mule deer we didn't have an issue with. But yeah, the whole elk thing, I can empathize with Ryan.
Well, it's so funny too, because you go through all those stages all over again, because I'm over a lot of it with the jackrabbits and stuff. But yet when I was bear hunting, I was like a little kid all over again. I just wanted to see a bear race so bad. Yeah. I would have just been happy to see dogs go. And I'm glad Ryan's been doing it for decades, because his dogs rigged, and he stopped the truck after they had rigged a couple times, not many, but a couple times. And we got out and looked around, and we found a bear track, and my heart is pounding. You know what I mean? I'm like, yes, it's time. And he sent out his 2 best old dogs, and they didn't want to take the track. And he was like, it's old or something. And we put him away and kept driving. And you could have heard my heart hit the ground. You know what I mean? But it's part of it.
I can tell you that it's something about, especially when you're an Eastern houndsman and you haul hounds out to the Rocky Mountains. I don't know what it is. I mean, seriously, I couldn't pour Jazz on a deer and make her run it here in Indiana. She's not going to do it. And Mongo was the same way.
Different deer. I
got him out there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I think I'm running a mountain line. I've got mountain line tracks. I'm on the line track. I'm watching it. I'm watching. I get a strike, and this good trailing job, and then all of a sudden the mountain line tracks start intermingling with moose tracks, and then the lion track peels off one way, and dog tracks and moose tracks keep going the other way, and I've got an epic moose race going on.
That could be dangerous.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just something. But
did you have a moose tag?
Yeah, sure. That's a different kind of deer. That is a different kind of deer.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, if you don't it's like when I was hunting with Larry out there, I'd get a rig. None of his dogs would rig. And of course, Larry knew it was trash, but I needed to stop. I needed to stop and get my dog off the rig and then let them go out there and see exactly what they were doing and then give them a correction for that and then put them back on the rig. And we did that.
Okay, hang on.
Go ahead.
Time out.
Go ahead.
So, and I'm throwing you lobbing you one. Why did you not correct them on the rig?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because I still want them to not be afraid to bark on the rig. You know, I want them to strike the correct game on the rig, not keep their mouth shut on the rig. So
you put them down, let them smell the track on the ground, and then correct them on the ground.
If they open on an elk track or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So that the correction didn't come from the rig, it came from the ground.
Yep. It came from, here we go. Okay, here we got an elk track. We got a mule deer. We got whatever it is, and bang, that's what the correction is for. That's not what we're looking for. Let's go back up on the rig. We'll go down the road. We'll do it again. And the next rig comes up. Boom, it's a bear track. And you get them on the track, and away they go.
Right.
Yep.
Very smart.
Yep.
Very smart. You know, Brett.
Those you rigging, pay attention to that. That's a good lesson right there.
Yep.
That's a good way to cover a lot of ground. I'd never even thought that was, it's amazing how a dog can smell a footprint. The sense of the olfactory senses are incredible. I love it.
It's not even the footprint though.
No.
It's the rafts of scent on the air currents. So they may be rigging a bear that is on an opposite slope across a valley, you know, but that's why I carry the dead downwind scent detector, wind detector. It's a wind detector, the little squeeze bottle thing, the little puffy thing I learned that trick.
Talcum powder.
Yep. I learned that trick from Larry Anderson.
And Seth, sometimes you can see the track in the road or whatever. The dogs can't track it. They rigged it, but they can't take that track.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That scent's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
You did that whole episode about you did that whole episode about scenting, Chris, and I was joking if we made an analog episode of sight, but it's a very short episode. Dogs see, dogs chase. For me at least.
Now, what would you call it if you're riding around on horseback, kind of rigging for a bear, but you're not in a truck, and the dogs are just around you on the horses?
You'd probably call it a trash race.
No. Like, are you still rigging for your bear?
No, they're just free casting, but then some of those dogs will pick it up off the wind. You know, you'll see them stop and pick their head up and start smelling the wind. And not all dogs will do it, but some dogs are really good at it, and they'll start smelling the wind. And when they smell that wind, it may be coming from, up on top of a hill, and that wind coming down, or vice versa, and they actually know that, hey, that scent is coming from over there. I need to go that way, and they'll just keep going and going and going until they find it. And
I think what's amazing is that it's the same breed or the same species, and yet one dog will be very good at finding, like you were saying, one dog's just good at winding that wind, and others can't do it. We've had a dog, a Saluki, literally run over a jackrabbit, step over its body, and it didn't even know it was there. And yet I have one of my dogs, only one, and she can sniff a jackrabbit up like a bird dog, Calypso. And I'm like, how come she can do that and nobody else can? You know what I mean?
Dogs that can wind, and those dogs that get those layup coon, those are your special ones. Those are what help you really get the job done.
Yeah.
And she's always been like that. That's what I always thought you can't teach that. They just got to learn it on their own, I guess. But I just think it's incredible, the diversity even within individual litters, because Pronto, he can sniff one, but not even close to Calypso. She's so much better at it. So anyway,
I was, and there's been several dogs, but I've had a few dogs that were really good about scenting on air current. And when I would go to a competition coon hunt, it's like, okay, we're gonna walk down this. The guide is always like, we're gonna walk down this lane, and we're gonna turn loose in this particular spot. And you may walk 50 yards, you may walk 200 yards before you cut the dogs loose. So as I'm got the dog on leash and I'm walking them down through there, I'm watching that dog, and I've had several that will start throwing that head up and start winding, and I'll take note of which way the wind's coming, and we'll walk down through there. It's like, yeah, boys, keep on walking, because none of your dogs even smell that coon off to the west right here. And we'll go in there and bang, you cut them loose, and before you know it, that dog is circled back around you behind the rest of the cast, and boom, he jams a coon right there where he was winning it. And that is a common trait. Why don't they all do it? And not to be, and I'm going to get this word right here, Seth, anthropomorphic about the whole thing, tying this to human traits, but there's certain things that, all three of my kids came out of the same genetic pool, and each one of them is good at something different. And it's I hate to put it back on human traits or compare it to that, but that's genetics. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's genetic,
Yeah.
And I think if we could ever figure all that out, the mysteries would be over for us, and what fun would that be?
It's the only class in college I got a D in.
See, okay, so I'm going to throw a kink in this conversation because I agree and disagree. So I know, like in the bucking bull world, there was several famous bucking bulls. They've all been cloned. Mm-hmm. None of the babies made it. Like they were decent.
Well, didn't Secretariat not throw any champions too, right?
Yeah, but the actual, which right. Secretariat didn't throw any champions, so he wasn't a reproducer. But as far as DNA, like the exact same DNA of these spectacular athletes did not make it. And so
you mean literally cloned?
Literally cloned, yeah. Like there was 3 or 4 of the most famous bulls in the world cloned. None of them, they were decent at best. Wow. So I think it's
the offspring were decent at best.
Well, they weren't the offspring. They were
the same one.
They were the same one.
Oh, okay,
what a great study.
You know what I mean?
Nature
so
versus nurture.
DNA wise, they are the exact same bull as that one, right? DNA wise, like scientifically, they are the same animal as that animal, and they were not as good, not even near as good as the original DNA donor.
So I think opportunity are we giving these dogs or these bulls that just flip it and like somehow change the game?
What? I didn't think about it, but
I'm sitting here watching Seth. I want to know what's inside. I'm putting my cursor over your head, Seth, and I'm sitting here circling your head. I want to know what's in there right now.
Okay, I was driving around in my work truck 2 days ago, and I was thinking a lot about the episode with Heath, and you guys were talking about the breeding, and Shorty he just went into my brain and came back out, because what an amazing experiment in nature versus nurture, right? Because those bulls are clones. They're literally clones. So was their upbringing, was the nurture aspect of their life different that made them a different animal altogether? You could clone the best competition coonhound and have Lauren raise it, Chris raise it, Shorty raise it, and I bet they'd be way different. And not because of just because of the way they were raised. And what if you raised them in some kind of sensory deprivation chamber where they had No, listen. Like, what if they had no way?
He's going to biologist geek out on us. Go for it.
They have no stimuli, even if they were raised in pet homes, okay, which is essentially a sensory deprivation tank. So, but no, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I have 3 pets. Okay. So anyway, and would they turn out radically different from each other? Like, where is the spirit? You know what I mean? Like, how much of the like spirit, I'm saying air quotes here, is just the wildly different aspects of nurture because they're clones. So you're using that as a control. I don't know. I was geeking out about that in my truck a bunch. I would love to do that. And I didn't know that's been done. That's why I just went wild, because that's badass. So,
well, I think it's exactly what you're saying. Nurture, like those animals that were great, like they had an experience, just like you're saying, Chris, like this dog could win stuff. This dog couldn't out of the same litter. Like that dog had something happen in his life, and we can't talk to him, so we don't know. Had something happen in his life where it went like, oh, if I can stick my nose up in the air and I can figure out where it's at. And we just don't know what those experiences were. And
somebody had the guts to cut him loose to see what he could do.
Exactly.
You know, that's what.
And circumstances aligned in his favor. Maybe that taught him a valuable lesson early on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a learned. I think that those traits are learned as well as, like, it is a lot DNA. You got to have great DNA, but then some of that stuff is learned.
He had early reinforced success is what happened in that situation for the winding dog. You know, it was a positive reinforcement situation. So another hound may have been doing that I did not see. I didn't see him doing that, and I just kept walking them. And then when they circle around behind me, I was really thinking about, that's not the way I wanted you to go, so now I'm going to give you a stimulation, or I'm going to cut you off, and I'm going to send you back in this direction. So now we have just suppressed that natural ability for that hound.
Which brings up a great topic.
So do you think that bull, the original bull, may have had life experience? This is all hypothesis. If there's any kind of taurine ethologists out there that want to make their master's degree on this thesis, go for it, because I want to know. What if that bull had some kind of life experience that just made him more irascible, that made him buck harder, and all his offspring were expected to be badass buckers, and they were not because they lived a better life because they were taken care of? I don't know. That's the thing I'm trying to get at.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, and it may have been an accident, like that bull, that they're, contrary to popular belief, they learn just like we do. And that bull may have bucked and slipped one time or had a stumble or something, and it got the guy bucked off. That bull learned something at that instant that he carried with him, and he did every time after that, and that's why nobody could ride him. And I think that's why he was great and none of his offspring were.
So how do we tie this back over to
listen to your hounds?
Yeah. Hounds.
Listen to your hounds. Follow. Like if that dog sticks his nose in the air and wants to go over there, go over there. What the hell is it going to hurt you?
I just got that song in my head. Listen to your heart when it's calling for you. But it's listen for your hounds.
Right.
We need to make a YouTube fan remix of that song with hounds overlaid.
Listen to your hounds.
Go, hounds, go.
Well, I think a lot of it is just the human nature to try to conform things to be the way we want it, the way it should be.
And you kind of described it in your theoretical hunt, where I want you to go this way or whatever. Like, just when you're going and those hounds want you to go this way, just go that way. Like, you don't have to go, okay, I've planned this whole hunt. We're going to go down here. We're going to take a right. We're going to go over here. We're going to go that way. And those dogs want to go this way. And you're like, nope, we're going this way. Don't. Like, you just screwed your hounds up. Like, if you would listen to them, you might have caught something, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's easy to do. I've done it thousands of times.
Gosh.
And it's just, we're like,
the amount of times I yell, I'm like, hey, over here. Come on, let's go. You know?
Yeah, most of the time it's because I don't want to go that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it really boils down to. Is
I
don't want to go over there. I want to, because it's easier to walk here. It's downhill this way.
You had to be a side hound hunter, Chris.
Yeah.
It's all easy walking where I hunt.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Speaking of easy walking, when I listened to your episodes, Shorty, and I was like, yeah, you brush country. I work in a lot of like heavy brush too. Dude, not even in your league, not even close. And I work with lots of mesquite and cactus, and I'm always like, yeah, I could run through there. You have a place that's literally called the Brush Country Museum. I Googled where you're from, and I was like, it's insane. Oh my god. I would love to. I'd love to come and experience that.
You gotta be either dumb or tough or both to hunt down here.
Lauren can decide which of those I am.
Yeah, well, and I'd like to compare it to like the crappy, terrible brush that we were in, and you were in even worse stuff when I just stood in the river and waited for you guys.
Right, that's what made me think that. But what the thing is that it was where we were, Lauren, is it looks, again, I'm only judging off Google image and what I experienced a little bit coming into like Wichita Falls and stuff, but like that thickness also has tons of spikes.
That's
that's the difference, because there's like the coastal brush, and you get to the like Louisiana, Mississippi, that logging country where they got those cutovers and stuff. Like all that brush is every bit as thick as this, but ours just has thorns.
And we have mesquite, tons of it, but man, it just does not grow like that. That is like a rainforest of mesquite.
We have mesquite and then a bunch of other stuff that grows underneath it that all has thorns.
What do you wear?
Just like Wrangler pants and Wrangler denim shirt. The thicker it is, the better.
Do you wear gaiters on your feet?
I'm scared of snakes, so I don't ever leave my truck without snake boots on.
I've seen you leave a truck without snake boots on.
And I will tell you this, just so imagine you guys know what a horse is and how high it is, but my father-in-law was actually working cattle with a neighbor of ours the other day, and we've had a lot of rain here, so the grass is tall. They couldn't see it. They heard one rattlesnake rattle, and then they went around it and rode up there, and another rattlesnake actually hit. And we ride with tapaderos, which are like a leather covering over your stirrup to keep from that brush poking in through your boots and stuff like that. Actually hit the tapaderos on his stirrup.
Whoa!
And they never saw it, but he felt it and heard it hit.
Wow!
And it was right there. And
I wear snake boots when I go into the real thick places. I'll send you a picture, Shorty, of the thickest places we have. They're very small, though. It's not like landscape level that you're in. But yeah, the snake population, I can't even imagine. I mean, that is rattlesnake paradise.
Yeah, I'm not coming to visit whenever there's snakes.
Just come when it's cold.
Yep.
How small is your snakeless season, Shorty? Seriously, I mean, you're still way lower in elevation and latitude than me.
The snakeless, well, it varies, but it would be probably December through March.
So come when Texas freezes over like last year when it was -5, and we'll be good.
You should have seen these people. They were freaking out. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah, ours is consistently November to March. That's very consistent, where we don't got any rattlesnakes out, which is great. I hate them.
Well, in December we can be hot. It really, in all reality, is probably closer to January, February. Like it can get hot down here fast.
Yeah.
If you would say 2 months out of the year, those would be the only two that you'd not expect to see a snake.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Lauren, no go on the rattlesnakes. And where we were, you wouldn't have paid me enough to go in there in the summertime.
Like when Brett Vaughn posts his rattlesnake videos and stuff, I'm like, ooh, that is like the one nope. That is like the nopes of all nopes for me. And snakes are fine. I don't care about snakes. Like, I have picked snakes up since I was a kid.
You'll be surprised when the dogs are barking treat. You'll put those boots on and go. Honestly, like if you came down, you wouldn't even think about a snake.
No, that's what I'm saying, because I'll forget.
The walk out sucks because you're like, I'm gonna step on a snake.
Yeah.
But
if you get ready to go down there, I got a set of snake chaps for you, Lauren.
There you go.
Yeah, they go.
Right.
Yeah, they're all total leg coverings. So
that's what I need.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's what we all need.
I could have used some actual.
Hot.
They are hot. They're bulky.
Some actual chaps in Colorado would have been really nice to have. I ended up ripping a pair of jeans on the last day. But the the brush that the horses would take you through and like hitting the sides of pine trees and aspen trees and, you know, it may have helped avoid some bruises and gouges and who knows what else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, I think we've circled the tree a few times and we've looked at it, and we missing anything? I think that was a good conversation we had about breeding and genetics and cloning and, you know, expectations from pups, and I think it still comes back to you know, just paying attention to your hounds and trying.
The one that hunts the most.
Yep, the one that.
Bingo.
Which dog's going to be the best one? The one you hunt the most. Yep. You take somebody like Calvin Redhouse, you know, and I've said this before. Calvin doesn't shop for the highest bred dogs. He just hunts the hair off of them, and and he catches a lot of stuff. Yep.
Yep. And I saw the same thing when I was out in Colorado. You know, those dogs get put through the paces. You know, my dog's hunting 9 days straight. I came out of it. I'm like, I feel like any dog you put out here, you're going to know right away. Well, not right away, but sooner rather than later, if that's going to be a good dog or a bad dog. And you're going to turn a good dog into a great dog like that. Hunting 7 days a week for 2 months straight.
But every dog has its limits, though.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
mine needed a break after 9 days, and Piper ended up losing a lot of weight.
They'll work through it.
Yep.
Yep.
They will. If you keep hunting them, honestly, like you'll be shocked. Like you'll think, man, my dog's shot. His feet shot. He's, as long as you don't have torn pads, like you'll just be like, oh,
yeah.
they. If you just keep hunting them, they'll get stronger.
Their bodies held up great, like absolutely great. Like nothing wrong with their feet, bodies. You know, I just could tell they were a little bit tired to get in the dog box at 2:00 in the morning.
Just because they've never been exposed to it, but like once they
Right.
figure out like this is going to be every day,
Yeah.
they're tough. They're
yeah.
way tougher than we give them credit for. All of them.
Yeah.
Sighthound hunters, shake your head at that. That is not, you cannot do that with greyhounds. You will kill them dead. You got to give them a 4-day break after a rock hard rabbits like that. It's just a different game. It's just an entirely different stress. Oh yeah. Lauren, you remember after that hard race we had with Pronjo, remember that? I mean, you need to give them a break. You need to give them a serious break.
Like our coonhounds are all like what are they called? It's not even they do like 100K, like more than a marathon, like the ultras. Like our coonhounds are like ultra athletes, and greyhounds are just like Olympic distance 100-meter
sprinters.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different stress on that body.
Sure.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, give them a good 2 days after a hard day of hunting because they need it bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Take us home,
else?
Chris.
Any final thoughts? Anything we didn't cover?
Stuff is ramping up. You can tell online. Guys, I'm posting a lot of stuff in our group. So take a look there, you know, in regards to mountain lions and the wolf situation, not just in Wisconsin. There's stuff happening in Michigan, all over the place. So just keep an eye on it. I've got a link out there to email your Wisconsin legislators. There's kind of two things going on. They're trying to like end the federal delisting, and then they're also trying to get the law in Wisconsin rechanged so that a hunt is not mandatory for the wolves. So I think that the anti-hunting zealots are ramping up again, and I can definitely tell based on the post. So stay tuned, stay alert, stay involved.
You know, my thing is I'll start taking them serious when they're calling for the Rocky Mountain or the elk to be reestablished to its traditional range, the black bear to be restored to its traditional range. You know, when they start putting that kind of money behind those species, then
right, they don't put any money towards conservation.
No.
We do.
No. Hunters.
We
One-
pay the money.
$1.6 billion a year. Hunters and shooters contribute. So.
You sure it's only 1.6? That number sounds a little bit low to me.
That sounds really low.
Yeah.
Billion?
Billion
Yeah,
with a B.
because I think the state of Texas, well, I shouldn't say toward conservation, but the state of Texas hunters bring in like 2.1 billion a year just in the state of Texas. But that's going to be shopping, whatever. So
Yeah, Pittman Robertson stuff.
yeah,
I was going to say, Lauren,
low.
that number you threw out just sounds like my brother's ammo bill.
Then maybe I'm wrong.
Where's he live?
You're saying so.
Right
What you're
over
saying,
here.
what you're saying, Lauren, is 1.6 billion going back into conservation.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, so that accounts for the PR funds that get skimmed off of ammunition and hunting equipment.
Right.
I'm with you.
Right.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
We need to get that number nailed down so we can talk on that point for
Yeah,
sure.
and now it's permanent. It's going to be on the air. So come at me, bro. Just come at me.
Oh, it's all good.
Hey, if somebody else has it,
not,
help
not
us
you
out.
guys. I'm just saying, yeah, like
No.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
It's
somebody
a
will
lot.
have the real number. Like honestly, and maybe that's it. Maybe you're right. But
Yeah.
somebody, if you're gonna come at her, you better have the real number.
Yeah.
You better be ready, too. You'll bring it.
No
Yeah.
kidding. No kidding. No, Lauren, you've been doing a great job on keeping everybody up to date.
Sure.
Keeping the group pages up to date on that stuff.
Yep. Thank you. And bless
Yep.
you.
I'm muted. It was loud. Seth, you got anything, man?
Yeah, I do. To our patrons, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to be hunting next week with John Rudder, so I'm going to bring some footage for that. I want to try to get as much of that documented as I can. If you've been staying on with the Patreon page, guys, to our patrons, thanks. And you saw I have 2 videos I posted. I'm going to continue with those 2 things as well. So hopefully I have some more sweet content in the pipelines. More tailgate talks getting scheduled, coming up. Looking at you, Lauren. And all of you guys, I'm looking at all of you guys as well. And also, we got our drawings coming up. We got our crowdcast coming up and our drawings coming up. Our crowdcast, I just want to say it now. It's public. It's going to be one day after this episode airs on the 14th, September 14th. It's public, so everyone join. It's all on the Facebook Live group. I'm sorry, it's all on the Facebook group, the Houndsman XP group.
And it's on our Instagram page. There's a link in our bio that can take you to like a ton of other stuff, like our webpage to buy hats, to sign up for our crowdcast event, all that stuff. So
Yep. So
no
stay tuned for
excuse.
that.
Click
We're going to be
like a
talking about
champion.
dog nutrition and who doesn't want to up the performance of their hounds.
Yeah,
And
I want to talk about that just a little bit, Seth, if you don't mind.
Please.
So I'm really excited to have this sort of material that we're getting out there for the hound hunters. You know, too often we try to get our dog food advice from social media, you know, and that's not always the best place. So the guest we're going to have on is going to be able to talk about the different ingredients, what those ingredients actually mean. Like if you see chicken bone meal, what is that exactly? You know, because believe it or not, dog food is more highly regulated by the FDA than people food is. That doesn't seem possible, but it's true. So you've got the regulations that surround that they have to list those ingredients, but we have to know where those ingredients come from if we are going to maximize the nutrition. When you look at protein versus fat, where does your fat come from? Where does your protein come from? How does that all interact with the ingredient they're using for carbohydrate? And is that actually metabolizing properly in your dog to give it the maximum performance? And this guest is going to be able to talk to all those points, and I think it's going to be great. And we really need you to get signed up today. We need you to get signed up. So yeah, Seth, I appreciate you bringing that up and showcasing that. And we're going to continue to bring guests on just like that for our crowdcasts. And can't wait for it. Shorty?
And I don't think we've explained well enough what Crowdcast is. For our listeners, hey, this is a really, really cool platform. Like, you can actually type in questions to ask us or the guest. We can bring you on. You can visually see and talk and ask questions. But the cool thing is as it's happening, you can ask your own questions, not just questions that we have. If you have questions we don't have, type it in there. We'll answer it. I think it's one of the coolest things going. It's something that if you own dogs, and I geek out on the nutrition deal, so I'm super excited about it because I pay real close attention. I'm going to have a ton of questions, and I know you will too. So this is the place to ask them.
Yep, for sure. And it's super easy. Seth's got it set up on the group pages. All you got to do is hit that link, go in there and register for the event. And when the event kicks off, you'll be notified, and you just activate, and bang, you're on a live. It's like a live video conference on your desktop, your mobile device. So it's super easy.
And you don't have to be on your webcam. You can just watch us if you want. So if you're like, I don't want to.
Right.
Yep. I just want to make that clear. You can just watch it like if you were an audience member.
It's free, and this one is not just for our Patreon members. It's for everybody.
That's right.
Everybody.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys. Anything else? We missing anything else? We wrapped it up? All right, man. Good deal. Well, hey, till next time, folks, you follow your hounds, and I will follow mine.